what is the importance of biodiversity in terms of the human health? You'll be surprised to know that most of the pharmaceuticals, which are very important in nature, they still come from the biodiversity resources in plants. There are at least 20 plants within the Himalayan region where you are located, where your institution is located, and city is located. There are 20 plants in the Himalayan region, including Taxus bagata, which is an important pharmaceutical. The plant provides very important pharmaceutical for the treatment of the cancer. No artificially made pharmaceutical provides that kind of influence in stopping the cancer what Taxus bagata provides. At the same time, you have enormous biodiversity restricted to very smaller areas. And the main issue, the foremost challenge amongst all of us, not only with protected area villages, but all the citizens of the country, including all of you, is that we have enormous pressure on these small areas. You have the pressure for the resources, for water. You have the pressure for the fodder for the livestock. You have the pressure from the local communities, from the medicinal plants. You have pressure on these biodiversity resources from the pharmaceutical industry. And you have very, very important pressure. One is Parthenium, known as Congress grass. And another is Lantana. Both are exotic. They were not there in this country. Parthenium was not there before 1966 in this country. This came from the import of the wheat. The Lantana came from Central American subcontinent as a hedge plant by the Britishers. But now Lantana is occupying all the natural habitation in the nation, including protected areas. The Parthenium is very, very important from the health point of view. And I think it will be one of the subjects to some of the very important plants which are harmful to health in any of the courses which are being offered by the School of the Health Sciences here in UPS. Because that type of information is very important for the undergraduate and graduate level student. Parthenium causes allergy, asthma, in children and adults and older people. Parthenium direct contact, regular direct contact also causes an eczema, which is known as crocodile eczema. And the irritation is to the extent that there are several cases of suicide because of the Parthenium eczema on your hands. Because you can't stop itching and you get tired and frustrated of itching to the extent that people have committed suicide. So these are the two very important plants from the health point of view of humans and animals. I think this is one of the very, very important topics every school going children here will be knowing about cheetah. The India has initiated very important project on cheetah reproduction in India. Cheetah was there about 60 years ago in India, and last cheetah was shot in central India about 60-70 years ago. We lost the biodiversity. Cheetah is a species of the grasslands, not trees or large trees. Like the kind of forest you see from UPES to Nanda Chowki, that is a good forest on both sides, but that is not suitable for cheetah. Cheetah doesn't like that kind of forest. Cheetah likes the open grassland areas and a smaller prey species for hunting, like black buck. Black buck is an antelope in India, or chinkara antelope, which is a small antelope in India. What happened? This is very important for you to understand, and also to understand from the scope of your future prospects, career prospects. There are two bottlenecks in the history of cheetah. The number of the cheetah came down to about 12 individuals several thousand years ago. The entire cheetah population which you see anywhere in the world has come out of those 12 individuals, 11 or 12 individuals. So what happens? That genetically very close. If you do the skin grafting for one animal to another animal, that is not rejected in most of the cases. They are so genetically close. Because of this genetic closeness, they are susceptible to some of the very, very important diseases like leukemia, which is a cancerous disease. So This is a very important, species for you to understand that what happens when there is a loss of the biodiversity or loss of genetic pool in one particular species. Also, some of the very, this is a worrying thing which is happening now. There is a fungus because of the monoculture farming which is started from Congo Basin. That is why the name of the fungus is UG99. This fungus has slowly traveled and has come around Afghanistan. And there is a worry in India that this fungus, wheat fungus, can also enter India. This fungus that destroys the entire wheat crop. If this enters India, there can be loss of the food and there can be food insecurity in India. So it is a very, very important topic as far as for the agriculture scientists in India, that how to stop this fungus or how to have some kind of pharmaceutical agent to kill this fungus. Most of the funguses, they travel through air. So traveling from one place to another place is very easy. They can travel far off distances. Another important point, and it's related to the health of the humans and animals. If you take the example of the Gir lion, the Asiatic lion is found only in the Gir landscape in India and Gujarat. There is a very close genetic relationship among these species. At the same time, what we are trying to do, we are trying to increase numbers in that small, limited size of the protected area. And because of that, there is a lot of human-lion conflict. About 25 years ago, one of the Indian Forest Service officers, he was doing some research with me. At the time, in Gir landscape, there were only 50 to 60 cases of human-lion conflict in 1 year. Last year I was in Gir. These years, there are 700 to 800 cases every year of human-lion conflict. And because of this conflict, there is a transfer of the diseases from the human environment to the lions. Because the diseases of the lions are same what you have in domestic carnivores, in domestic dogs. So there is a very important point as far as the conservation of the future of the Asiatic lion is concerned in India, because of the transmission of the diseases. Another important point from the point of view of the loss of the diversity, biological diversity, and also related to the health of humans. There are about 13 to 15 million animals, wild animals which are traded. In some of the houses, I think most of you know, the people like to keep a turtle in their house for some good luck or vastu. Some people keep snakes. Some people keep some other, forms of animals, not the domestic animals. There is a lot of transmission of the diseases from these pets to the human environment. Zoonotic disease. Zoonotic disease means, it is a very important point of health sciences, the diseases which can travel from animals to men and vice versa from men to animals. You can imagine 13 to 15 million animals are being traded for this purpose around the world every year. Amphibians. I am sure that you never considered amphibians as something very important from the human health or environmental health point of view. How do amphibians live? Just think. They live on the ground, they live on the water. So they are in the direct, their skin is in the direct contact of soil and water. Soil and water is getting polluted every day. More and more pollution to the soil and water, even in agricultural areas. So what is happening? The population of amphibians, the frogs, is diminishing at a very alarming rate. And there are diseases in frogs which were never seen earlier. Frogs are a very important indicator of the human health and environment because of being very close to their skin. But frogs are also very important. Their skin secretions are of tremendous value in the pharmaceutical industry. They also provide a variety of ecosystem services for the human well-being and health. But they also provide millions and millions of tons of frogs are catched every year for the food. I'm sorry that you can switch off the slide. Now these slides will be more clear. But what is happening? Why these things are happening, which are very important from the human health point of view? Because of not the pollution, because of not the garbage, because of not the mixing of the domestic animals, human environment, and the wildlife, which you can see in one of the pictures here down, human waste. This is happening because of the human behavior is becoming very irresponsible in terms of creating this human waste, not disposing it properly, creating the environment of smog from the industrial pollution. So it is the human behavior which is responsible, primarily responsible for all these kind of things which are directly influencing the human health. When the health is getting directly influenced, what happens? And especially when there are certain geopolitical turmoil in an area. Take example of sub-Saharan region in African subcontinent. I am giving this example particularly to inform you that there is an immense amount of scope in the future. It's not simply engineering, but there is a larger scope in related to subjects like health sciences, multidisciplinary scope. And in some of the slides, I will show you some very interesting pictures that how multidisciplinary this field is. I think I will have time, so I have to go fast. Ebola is a name of the river in Congo Basin. As of today, the Ebola is the most serious disease of mankind.
Having the high fertility rate.
And Ebola got out of the human control because of the lack of the insurgency in sub-Saharan Africa. And it has become one of the very, very important human health issues at present in the world. So what I'm trying to say, I cannot speak very directly here on such some issues. What I'm trying to say, that in a country like ours, if the systems, health systems will be disrupted, then the pathogens will be able to penetrate into the system and become endemic. You know that there are certain areas in India where the efficiency of the health systems are diminishing because the situation is not proper for the physicians to be there. So in summary, the disrupted environment creates opportunity for many pathogens to erupt and become endemic. For example, all of us, we have recently gone through the SARS-CoV-19. Fortunately, the person is giving lectures who has been very close associate of some of the people who have worked on COVID-19, including vaccine. COVID-19 jumped from bats to humans. What humans do, and I told that human behavior is very responsible. We were exploring in some part of the very remote areas of China about the bat pigs and trying to capture bat for certain experiments. That's how a virus which was limited to its host as bats was able to jump to another species and became very pathogenic.
Zoonotic disease.
What I'm trying to say that there are certain species, if we disturb their habitat, there is a possibility that their pathogens will jump to humans. There is a very good movie, if all of you can ever watch that movie. I think on the internet it may be available free now, Contagion, Contagion. This movie of about 90 minutes will provide you the greatest ability to understand how things are changing in the world, how human behavior is more responsible for bringing the catastrophic events which you have seen in the last few years. So there is a worrying combination, especially in Asian subcontinent and parts of Europe, where the health systems are completely collapsing. And once the health systems collapse, the pathogens are very heavy. Because pathogens by nature, they are always trying to expand its host range. The reason is that the more and more host range, it is very difficult to control or finally eradicate that particular pathogen. I'll give one simple example, because otherwise you will not understand what is foot just now. There is a disease of animals known as foot and mouth disease, very rampant in our country. Foot and mouth disease is found in animals only which are cloven hooves. Have you seen the hooves of a cow? They are bifurcated. This virus will not cause any disease to any animal which is not having cloven hooves. It will not cause disease in horses. Because the host range is very limited, we are able to eradicate and control FMD in India, which was a very, very important disease from the human health point of view, because there was millions and millions of tons of loss of milk production when the FMD was rampant over the country. Another example, rabies. Rabies is a disease of variety of animals, including humans. Although it is the oldest disease of mankind, but we have not been able to develop any treatment for rabies or control it properly, because rabies is a disease which has possibly the widest host range. So now probably you can understand why the host range of the pathogen, which is very difficult to control in India. This is an interesting slide, and I will take 1 minute. How the biodiversity influences the human health. For the last 2000 years, you are worried only about 1 or 2 diseases, like plague, like cholera, like smallpox. I think all the kids sitting here, they may not be having any scar on their left arm, but I have these 2 scars. And I think anybody here who is around 65 may be having definitely 2 scars because of the vaccination of the smallpox. It was done through the schools. The vaccination people will come to the school and vaccinate for smallpox, very serious disease. But we have eradicated smallpox. After 1960, I'll go back to this slide again. 1960 was the time when we developed the antibiotics. Although antibiotics were developed around 40s, but they were not in manufacturing stage, Alexander Fleming. In 1960s, we were able to manufacture antibiotics. Once we manufactured antibiotics, we said that we have controlled everything now. There was a conference of the physicians, microbiologists, professionals from health sciences. In 1960s, they said that why to teach microbiology for 1 complete year to medical science students, we can reduce to it 1 semester, because now we have control for everything. We have found the drug, antimicrobials. What happened after 1975? And why it happened? And now there is a larger scope for you guys, because we do not have new antibiotics in the pipeline. This is one of the very, very important fields of health sciences today, if you want to make a very great career of yourself for next 40 to 50 years, after you graduate from like this School of Health Sciences here, and then really go to graduation, master's and PhD programs, graduate programs. Why? Initially there was a funding, government funding for newer antibiotics. Slowly that funding is reducing. There is no funding. Why? Because the pharmaceutical industries, they fund only in those pharmaceuticals which can give them more profit and profit for longer term. Antibiotics are life only for 5 to 7 years. So if they invest $1 million today to UPES, Department of School of Health Sciences, and ask them that please work to develop, please do some work on a new pharmaceutical agent, antibiotic. Because all the antibiotics and all this kind of work is done by the graduate students in a university like yours. Industry is not doing anything. You do the research, you find out the solution, and then you give the research to students like you. Give the results to the pharmaceutical industry, then they start manufacturing. Every research, every great research for the mankind in the last 200 years has been done only by the institutions like your university, UPS, and top universities around the world. The students like you and their professors. So that is why the private pharmaceutical industry is not funding into antibiotics because this is not a profitable business. And government has no funding because the governments are funding war, control of insurgency, control of law and order at this place. So the entire money of the world, about $900 billion, is going into industrial, military industry complex. The US is spending $700 billion in military industry. You know, we have to continue with the war in different places. So money is not there. Money is going largely at present either in space sciences, and I'm very happy that this university has a very good department of aerospace engineering, and probably it should be, in future, should be developed into from aerospace engineering to aerospace sciences, which is a much multidisciplinary and broader subject area. And many of the students here who are from the schools, they can definitely make their career in this space. There are two very important things in the present day, either health sciences or this space. These are the two most prominent areas for your very important and career in life. I'll take one more. After 75, most of the pathogens in next 15 to 20 years they become resistant to most of the antibiotics. After 75, you know all these new diseases. They have all come from wildlife resources. You see vaccinal virus, you see Ebola virus, you see any other virus, and most of the diseases are prevalent in India. So this is a very serious situation as far as the human health is concerned these days. Now coming back to something very important which you have been reading, but this background was important. As far as what kind of career you can make, if you do your undergraduation in any multidisciplinary areas like the sciences. Fortunately, I was looking into the syllabus of the School of Health Sciences, browsing all the courses they teach and everything. And I was very impressed that in comparison to many universities in India, it is very multidisciplinary. What you need is a multidisciplinary to make your background very solid, rock solid, so that you can progress in a very, very different areas in future, whatever interest you develop after doing your undergraduate and graduation. It's not sure, most people are not sure, I was not sure